Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is your host, Becky McNattin, along with Tara Martini. We are super glad to have you listening as we live and share stories of mental health today. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, my dear. So, Becky, today we are exploring what I feel is a unique concept that I'm going to say not many people are familiar with, and it is called wintering.
Well, I love turning nouns into verbs.
I know.
Everybody knows I'm a word person.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
So first, I want to introduce it by using a poem because I know you're a lover of words.
I am.
After I read it, I would love to know your thoughts and feels and all the things. So this is a poem by someone you know, Donna Ashworth.
Yes.
And it is very creatively entitled Wintering. It says, "You may think yourself lazy or flawed, yet your body is made up of almost exactly the same elements as the stars. Your bone composition matches the coral in the seas, and you, my friend, are ruled by the moon and the sun, whether you like it or not. So no, you are not lazy. Nature is simply pulling you to slow, like the life, the floral, and fauna around you. It is not your moment to rise. It is winter. You are wintering, and you are right on time."
Wow. Wow.
Thoughts, feels, connections, questions?
Well, it makes me think about winter in general. I like how Donna in this poem says, "It is winter, you are wintering." So instantaneously, which I know is the topic of the show because it is winter. And so thinking about, I get these images in my mind. I'm thinking about what I do in winter. But to turn that into a life experience where we put it as a verb, it makes me think about, well, what does that mean to engage in wintering?
Which is such a good question. And I think she brings up such a universal concept of how many of us think to ourselves during the winter months, "Oh, I'm just being so lazy. I'm just laying around watching TV or reading a book. Why does my body feel like this?" And what people don't realize is our bodies are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be resting. We are supposed to be slowing down.
Yeah. I was just having a conversation the other day with somebody who was telling me this idea of, like, it's cold outside, I don't feel like going anywhere. And it's dark so early, I don't feel like going anywhere. I'm so blah. I love how she starts in this poem with, "You may think yourself lazy or flawed," that we judge that experience of wanting to, what looks like slow down, and may actually be slow down. You want to go to bed earlier. You want to put on comfy clothes. We did a show a few weeks ago on actual coziness.
Yes.
And that we have that desire to do it, but then our humanness says that's bad, or we evaluate it as wrong.
Where we've given it a negative connotation.
Yes.
And how often do we judge ourselves, right? Where, why don't we try and reframe it and say, wow, my body is telling me to rest, so I need to listen to it. I need to lean into the quiet. But instead we fight it so much and we say, no. Like, it's not okay to just rest and sit in the quiet. And so what we're going to talk about today is this idea of wintering and what does that mean? And really a lot of it comes from Catherine May, an author, who really coined the term wintering.
Okay.
And I can't wait to share more about her and this term that she has created.
And as the poem ends, you are right on time.
Yes.
So everybody, we're wintering.
We're
cool
wintering.
Topic today. I cannot wait to explore this more. Right now we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned as we further talk about wintering and all its facets. Thanks for listening to Feels Out Loud. We will be back in just a moment.
From nobody else, all you got to do, nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know that's right. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost.
Welcome back, everyone, to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I'm Becky McNattin with Tara Martini. I want to dive right back into our discussion on all things wintering, Tara.
Yes.
And before we left for the commercial break, we were starting to talk about what wintering might look like, the images that we get in our minds.
Yep.
And so just so we're all on the same page as
Right.
people are listening to us, wintering refers to a biological state where plants and animals survive cold seasons by reducing activity and conserving energy.
Exactly.
So it is a physiological and biological state. In a human context, wintering describes a personal period in our lives, such as after a major loss, a significant life event, maybe illness, like that, maybe even entering motherhood for a first
Yep.
time or parenthood for the first time. Something significant that psychologically, emotionally, maybe relationally, we go into the space of wintering.
Exactly. And so it's important to know that there's kind of two sides to it. And that's why I chose the poem at the beginning, is that, yes, there is that season of winter in which our bodies are meant to slow down during that season of cold, and we're supposed to be surrounded by warmth and slowing down, just as the animals do. Our body is built to do that. At the same time, when we experience whether it is a trauma or a transition or a major life event, our bodies are meant to and should go into this quiet stage where we go inward.
That makes total sense to me.
Catherine May coined the phrase wintering. It can be done any time of year. Many people, as you may assume, think wintering can only be done in the winter. But it is taking the idea of what happens during winter, the season, and translating it into after any life event. And going inward and slowing down and reflecting.
Kind of a retreat or
Yes,
or
exactly.
retraction into.
Exactly. So Catherine May, as I say, she did one heck of a big reframe when she wrote Wintering. Where it came from is she wrote a book to inform, but it's also part memoir.
Okay.
And she recounts her own year-long journey through winter, so the time, which was sparked by a sudden illness in her family. So hers was related to a physical illness that plunged her family into a time of uncertainty and seclusion. So kind of, again, that time of seclusion.
Yeah.
She managed to find strength and inspiration from that wintering experience, as well as looking around and noticing, because coincidentally it was also during the winter season, she noticed around her the transformation that happens in nature.
Yeah.
And what happens, what it takes to survive, that resilience that nature has in the cold.
Makes so much sense to me. I'm thinking about how interesting it must have been for her to write the book when both of those things are actually occurring. So she gets this visualization
Yes.
outside of herself that the season is one of winter, and noticing how nature gives these striking images that we can see of what it looks like to retract or, as you said, survival.
Right.
While she's also experiencing this psychological state that could have happened anytime.
Right.
But
Right.
noticing the sameness of those two things. How cool.
It is. And it's one of those where when I was researching, for both of us, we're thinkers, right? We're creative.
Yes.
So it doesn't help where our minds go a million different places. But I started creating visuals, and I was thinking to myself, my daughter and I were talking about this type of frog. Forgive me, I don't know what kind it is. But in the wintertime, it literally dies.
Huh.
And accumulates snow on top of it. And then in the springtime, it is alive and well.
Huh.
And to me, that image popped up right away, because to me that was like the epitome of wintering, right? It comes in, it moves inward, it slows down,
Yes.
but then there's a rebirth in the spring. And it's that concept of, we can do this, we can grow, in the messiness, the ickiness, and all the things during this time of wintering. So what I want to do first is help our listeners understand, like, what is wintering? What are easy and practical things we can do during a state of wintering? Because it is grounded really in mental health and our physical health.
Yeah.
And so let's talk all things wintering, starting with what are the key aspects of wintering. So the first one is there is a natural cycle to this, just like there's a natural cycle in nature. So really, wintering draws from the biological concept of wintering in nature, where animals and plants adapt to harsh conditions by slowing down and conserving resources. How many times do we tell our clients or our friends or our family when they are going through whatever their life transition is, take time to rest?
Yeah.
Have you napped? Slow down. I guarantee that's one of the most universal things we say. Stop running on that hamster wheel.
Yeah. And that conserving energy.
Yes.
Recognizing that just getting through requires energy.
And more energy than just so.
Yes.
Going out to get the mail is going to take 100 times more energy than it usually would
Yep.
during a time of grief or trauma or stress.
Yep.
So conserve that energy.
And be kind to yourself that that's what is, that nature just seems to do.
Exactly.
There is this metaphorical meaning too. So for humans, wintering represents a difficult, often involuntary life experience or phase of life, characterized and inclusive of hardship, isolation, and loss. And everybody I am, even in my own mind right now, I'm picturing the times in my life that have put me into spaces of wintering. So if you're sitting there, understand, yes, like these are going to come to you even as we're bringing this up. These involuntary moments, the times that you didn't ask for, that showed up, maybe suddenly or unexpectedly, that put you into a space of deep challenge, isolation, and loss.
Another key aspect is active acceptance, which, boy, humans were not very good at.
Well, we have to, and you and I have talked about this on the show many times.
Yeah.
Active acceptance isn't only a state that then we've done and then now it's done.
Yeah. Yep.
That active acceptance is reaccepting and reaccepting and reaccepting. In our line of work, we call it radical acceptance,
Yes.
but yeah, we're not that great at it. So
Yes.
we have to keep doing it.
Yes.
That's the active stance.
Yeah. Which goes against, we have this, I think, natural tendency to resist. So, but instead of resisting or trying to power through, which is the human tendency to do so, which is our culture to just power through, because then it means you're strong if you power through, right? But wintering involves actively accepting the situation, allowing oneself to feel the pain and embrace this period of dormancy and introspection, which we say, feel the feels.
Yeah.
Sit in your sadness, your pain. Feel it. Sit in it.
Yeah, and it gives me this imagery of the stillness of winter when things do seem stark.
Yep.
How uncomfortable that is to be in our psychological stillness too.
Yeah.
That's the personal challenge. That is what we have to reaccept and reaccept. That's required is to sit in the stillness and allow to be whatever the feels are that we're having.
It is interesting because the more I was looking into this, the more I was like, I feel like as therapists, everyone in our office, like we kind of coach many aspects of wintering to our clients. This idea of just sitting and accepting, teaching to feel, and being in the quiet. And it is fascinating how it is so much of just teaching people in our culture to slow down, right?
Yep.
Go against what we were taught as far as, moving and doing things quickly. But yeah, so active acceptance. The next one is recharging and rebirth. So kind of like I talked about with the sweet little frog. although growth may be hidden and you don't see it, which is super hard, right? Because we'll tell our clients, like, it's a process.
Yeah, right.
It is a process.
Yep.
Wintering is a vital phase that allows for the soul to recharge, restore, and prepare for future renewal. Much like things lead to a new beginning.
Right. It is that you're highlighting this inner focus that can feel very unpleasant. Lots of us talk about how we don't like winter. And also there's beautiful aspects to it. And so you're talking about when we withdraw from the world, the external world, and focus on our inner self, we get this opportunity to grow. But I love that you say it might not appear to us. It for at least even a period of time.
Right.
We might eventually. We have to kind of trust in what might be, what might come.
Yep.
Because it might not show up right away. And
I think that's hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
But I think that is where, particularly with clients, that is where the trust comes in, right? That's all about the relationship between therapist and client, is that trust that it is coming, right? That it will happen. Because there are a lot of things you don't see present day, right?
Right.
But just knowing it will. So.
Yeah, if you get those images of winter in your mind, you think about what winter covers and what is happening underneath the layers of in Minnesota, it might be snow or frozen ground, that even what we see doesn't mean that's the whole story.
Right.
But that there is an eventuality that we do see something come from what was.
Yes. The energy that is under the ground in Minnesota, the energy in life that is underneath the ice in the frozen lakes is astonishing if you thought about it.
Yes.
And I get way too excited about it because I love winter. It is incredible. People just assume that winter means lack of life, right? And it doesn't. It's just we don't see it. And what a cool, magical thing that is. So, did you want to get the last one, inner focus? For the key aspects of winter?
Yeah, as I said a couple minutes ago, that when we take time to step back from what we're doing, that there is opportunity in that. When we say we might feel isolation, we might feel even othered from these life moments that we didn't ask for that came on suddenly, that part of the kind of unexpected maybe gift of it is this focus on our inner self. That we're both challenged and then given opportunity to foster that personal growth.
Yeah. And that healing that can happen, which is incredible from the inside out. So the next thing I want to do is looking at, so all of these things, you could be listening right now to this episode going, okay, yeah, I get the key concepts. That's really lovely. But that all seems really daunting. So what I want to know is like, just what are easy things I can do partway through this conversation that you're having, that are practical aspects of human wintering that you could take if you're like, wait, I'm almost to my destination. I don't have time to listen to the rest of this episode, ladies. Well, here are some things you can do. One, just slow down. Just slow down. Schedule more time for things that are indoors, that slow your body down and your mind down. Things like reading or hobbies that you neglect.
Sure. Yes.
We talk about this all the time on episodes of going back to the things that create peace in your mind or your heart that we neglect when we get super busy. Now when you're wintering, when it is the season of winter, go back to those things you neglect because now you have the time for them. So that's one thing you can do. Slow down. Take things off the calendar. Don't add things. Prioritize rest. We just talked about this a few minutes ago. Going to bed earlier and accepting the need for more sleep.
Well said.
And you said this earlier about that idea of like, all of us thinking we're lazy, where it's like we all know it gets darker earlier. And we're like, why am I so tired so early? It's 6 o'clock. But that's what's supposed to happen. And so it is knowing it's okay that I go to bed earlier. And it's okay that I surrender to my body saying, you need more sleep. Third, and we talked about this during our cozy episode.
Yes, we did.
So if you want more information on creating cozy spaces, check out that one. Create cozy spaces. So engaging the senses with things like if you have a fireplace, or even go outside and you can still have bonfires in your fire pit in the winter.
Yeah.
Candles or comforting scents, textiles like your blankets and your pillows. Those are 3 easy things you can do that are connected to winter and wintering. Whether it is you are not going through a period of wintering or you are, during that time, either time you can do these things.
Yeah. They all sound like concepts connected to nurture in my mind. And perhaps if someone is having a tough time thinking about what it would mean to create a cozy space, or even what would you think about what you might tell a friend to go do for themselves? Because sometimes when we think of that externally, it can help us apply it to ourselves. And what would you offer?
Great tip.
And so how to embrace wintering. Oh my gosh, people, if you're thinking about, I don't want to, I join you in that. Because we are in essence talking about periods of our life that are absolutely painful.
So hard
and
so
pain-filled. And those are 2 different things. So embracing wintering is, we're not necessarily saying you have to somehow love what has catapulted you into this experience.
Totally correct.
The idea of embrace is an acceptance and a compassion toward you that this is where you sit. And this is how to respond to the needs that are happening for you right now. So that's what we're talking about when we say embracing wintering.
Exactly.
Acknowledge the winter. And I mean that in both a figurative and potentially literal way. When it's dark outside, embrace that it's dark. When it's dark internally, embrace that it's dark. And notice that and say, it is. Would I like to change it? Yeah. And then be compassionate to yourself that you even have the feel of, I want to change it.
Right. And that does, and I apologize for interrupting, that doesn't mean you are giving up. Surrendering and accepting are different than giving up.
Yeah, it's a unconditional response too. And knowing by saying it out loud to yourself, and as we're saying, accepting that you're in a difficult phase, you're in a difficult life spot, rather than denying it, rather than saying that's over there, or I'm only going to look over here. I think you're then really giving it the purpose and space it's owed, because it is huge. Another way to embrace this idea of wintering. So you mentioned it, Tara, this like thinking about what your maybe typical activity level would be, and then saying, what would that look like slowed? So if on a scale of 1 to 5, you say, well, here's what a 3 of activity would be. How do I bring that down to a 2? What are the base changes to reduce the pace of life because I need to conserve my energy? This is about a recognition that daily life is going to cause me to expend more. Similar to how animals might conserve their strength.
Well, and I think you bring up such a good point of, you said from a 3 to a 2. You didn't say from a 3 to a 0.
Yes.
It's realistic changes, not drastic, because that's not something you could realistically do, right? So important to just make those realistic changes.
And these could be tiny daily life moments. Like, am I going to try to insert 10 minutes of journaling into my nighttime? Or am I going to listen to a favorite playlist on my way home from work? Or am I going to try to go to bed 20 minutes earlier? Things like that aren't a pendulum swing to something else that would be really hard for us to insert. When we embrace wintering, we are also saying that we're going to reflect and reevaluate. And
big one.
And hard to do, using this time of inward reflection, looking at our experiences, thinking about them. And big one here, everybody, reevaluating our values and priorities, asking ourselves, what resonates with me now? What no longer serves me? Are there things that are thoughts in my mind that become beliefs, or that align or are congruent with me, or are they not anymore? And then what do I need to do to actively change it? And that would lead to the next step of when you decide to reevaluate your values and priorities, you're saying, I'm going to nurture what the answers are.
Can you say that again? That's amazing.
Nurturing your inner self and being true to you, real with you, honest with you on what actually looks like nourishing for your mind, your body, your soul. Through these acts of, you and I have talked about self-care a ton, what it means to live out self-care. Actually, that takes huge courage. It is easily said. We're talking about saying, what in my life right now, based on where I sit, do I have, works for me?
Right. And like you said, asking those questions and then nurturing those answers.
Yes. Yes.
You said it so perfectly.
And you mentioned a moment ago, Tara, that this trusting the process. If anyone is listening and you have come up with the answer on how to do that, will you please email me? It is Becky McNattin at becomingtogethermn.com. Because I think that this might be one of the hardest things. When we are in spaces of metaphoric, in winter, it is physical and literal dark. But when we are in these spaces of darkness, trusting the process, that this dormant period is essential for growth, is maybe one of the most hard things to do. And that it is part of metamorphosis. It is part of transformation. And it does lead to purpose, greater wisdom, just even an understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that good things come from hard things. I'm saying that there is a tuning into oneself that is part of this that is so hard to do when we say trust the process, but it is an aspect of wintering.
So hard to do. So I found an interview, because our episodes go way too fast. So fast. So I found an interview with the author, and it discusses why wintering is crucial to our well-being. And we always talk about well-being and how to nurture oneself. And so I thought it would be so important to actually hear from the author herself on ways to, how does someone know when it is time to winter?
Good point.
How do you know when you're in a state of wintering? And how do you let it in? How do you welcome it? Because it is so hard to do. And so this is an interview with the author. The first question she was asked is, how does someone know when it is time to winter?
Love that.
Which is such a great question, because it is
what might we notice?
Yes.
Is kind of is the question.
So the first thing she says is just watch for warning signs of stress or fatigue. When you're like, whew, whether it's your body, your mind, or your heart, where you're noticing those signs, where you are more stressed than usual, and it's lasting longer, right? Because you can have a stressful day and it passes, but think of it's lasting for a longer time. There's more consistent days. And then take the time to tune into your own needs. Going, am I meeting any of my needs, or am I neglecting them?
Yes.
And if you're neglecting them, okay, well then what am I going to do about it? So here are some questions you can ask yourself. Am I always exhausted? Does life for me right now feel relentless?
Beautiful word.
Am I pushing down persistent sadness and just hoping and praying it'll go away? A next one is huge. Am I eating well? Am I getting enough exercise? Am I feeling refreshed after sleep? Because many people don't tie those things to mental wellness.
Right.
All of those things are signs that life isn't going in the right direction if you are answering, wait, yes, I am always exhausted. I feel like life is relentless. I'm not sleeping well. So if we can allow ourselves to slow down and take stock, we might be able to winter before things get too overwhelming. Because the key with wintering is going, yes, I just went through a period of transition. I just had a loss. I just had a huge transition in my life. I just suffered an illness. And I can say yes to these questions, but I'm not yet to the point where it is so overwhelming I don't know where to begin. That's a perfect time to begin this idea of wintering.
I love that.
If you can do it, you know.
Yes.
Now, if you're saying to yourself, oh, honey bunny, I am way past that. I am in the depths of all the things you just said. It's never too late. You can start to winter anytime. She's just talking about if there's this ideal, right? And then next, what are some simple steps for recognizing winter and then letting it in? And I apologize for the length of this quote, but her words are perfect. I could not rephrase them, summarize them any better. She says, this is Catherine May. It's possible to sink into our personal winters and use them as times for active reflection and learning. But again, we have to accept them. It's time to recognize that everybody winters, and usually several times across a lifetime. Wintering isn't a sign that we've somehow failed to hold it all together. Instead, it's a normal part of the life cycle and a gateway to the next phase. And I think if we look at it that way, folks, it's a time of transition to the next beautiful phase, then we as humans don't see it as failure.
Yes.
All the emotions that come up in that time, sadness, anger, regret, loneliness, are normal too. If we can allow ourselves to feel them, they pass. And don't we know that as therapists?
Right.
If we keep trying to avoid them, they put us in pain. And you don't have to do this alone. And we say that all the time. You don't have to do any of this alone. Wintering is an open invitation to take better care of ourselves. And that means different things to different people. For me, as in Catherine May, it's a lot of sleep, comfort food, long walks, and plenty of hot baths. When we really stop to notice our winters, they're not monotonous wastes of sadness. They're full of small pleasures, and we need to give ourselves permission to embrace these. Even in our darkest moments, we're actually very skilled in guiding ourselves back toward the light.
Wow.
If we can look at wintering like that, I think it completely transforms how all of us can view that time of transition in our lives, that quiet time where we go inward, which would be transformational.
Well, the grace offered in that, and her quote there is so powerful, and I see why you wanted to read it verbatim, because she uses some really stunning words that create space.
Yeah.
I can't think of it more than that what comes from when we just accept that and allow something to occur. And how many gifts are in even just her reframe of I think she says they're full of small pleasures, and we need to give ourselves permission to embrace these.
Yes.
That's a really amazing way to look at it.
Well, and I think you bring up such a good point of some of the transitions or periods of pain we're choosing, right? Like a divorce. We're choosing it. So there's a reluctancy to accept those joyful moments, because how dare I be joyful if I chose this for myself, right? Because
if you're the one who sought that,
correct,
part that transition,
yeah. And so what I wanted to quickly do is like all of these, how do I embrace wintering? Use a personal example that I felt like a lot of listeners could relate to. That concept of going through a divorce or separation, which is such a concrete black and white example of you literally have this blank space and time of transition after. And so what I did is I just like went through each of these pieces about acknowledge it, reduce, reflect, nurture, and trust, and just kind of wanted to break it down so that you could see how it is used in a tangible way. So, like I said, I went through a divorce, and immediately following that, I went through my own wintering. and a phase of going inward. And I would say in some ways I'm still there as far as even over a year later, I still am in that going inward. Then you acknowledge that winter. I think I've accepted this is a difficult phase. It was very difficult, though, to sit in it and say to myself, I chose this.
I hear that fully.
It wasn't an illness. It wasn't something that happened to my family. I chose this for us. I see why people tend to fight it and refuse to surrender because it's a very hard thing. I'm a stubborn person, right? The next thing, remember, is reducing activity. Slow down that pace of life. So for me, this was not a time to add clients. And thankfully, I have a great boss who was like, I hear you. It isn't a time to add clients. This is not a time for me to add things to my social calendar. It was actually a time for me to do the opposite. If there were social things I was invited to, I pulled back. I pulled away. Also knowing I have a great support system of people that understood, who went, she is in this time of moving inward.
Yeah.
Because all of it, like we have said earlier today, took so much more energy. But that energy had to be saved for caring for my child, for working with my clients that I had, for doing the things that I knew I had to do. So you have to conserve for those necessary things.
Right.
Next is reflecting and reevaluating. I had to look inward, reflect, and reevaluate my values and priorities because with a change in family dynamic and living situation, my priorities and responsibilities changed.
Yes, huge.
Like big time.
And life logistics
Oh, for sure.
fully change as a part of that.
And then something which was to me such a cool thing because I wanted to highlight that wintering is not all negative in that my goals got to change. What I wanted for the next, up and coming years got to change. And I was like, wait a second. Now I have this blank canvas of things. I reevaluated, what am I looking for? What do I want for myself? When years prior, I had everything laid out for the rest of my life. Now, was that overwhelming as can be? For sure. Was that hard to get to? Absolutely. But after self-reflection and after trusting the process, I got to understand that it was essential for growth and change. Just like in nature, metamorphosis is so painful and hard. But that leads to wisdom and a deeper capacity for joy and a deeper understanding of oneself.
So well said. And one of the things that I love about what you were just sharing, first, I think so many people will resonate with the idea of application of wintering to this life experience, that you're talking about it's been a year. And that you said so lovingly that you feel like you're still in it. So everybody hear that. In the winter, although seasonality, and we think about it as maybe months of the year, this might be a long time. It might be a long time.
And for also some of you listening, you might go, well, thanks, Tara. Okay, you're a year in. I am not still sitting all in, right?
Yes.
There are parts of me that have grown and changed and moved forward. But yes, there are still parts of me that are still sitting inward.
Yes, so that is a chronological time.
Absolutely.
I so much to think about here. I feel like my brain cracked open. And I love this so much. We're going to head to a commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to talk through your listener questions, all of your questions about what wintering is, what it looks like, what it feels like. Feels Out Loud will process all of this in just a moment.
All you got to do now. In a world full of strangers,
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this part of the show is where we talk through questions from you all, our listeners. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or our topics for each week that you would like us to process through, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit a question directly. You also can definitely email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. Of course, follow us on social media too. We want to hear from you, everyone, and we want to know what you're wondering about. And love that we had some questions come in about wintering. Huge thank you to our listeners. And, Tara, take it away.
Yeah. So the first question, I think, one, I loved that it was about wintering, but I also love that it really is such a universal question that pertains to everyone, whether wintering or not. It says, one thing that I know about myself is that when I'm in a state of wintering, I go inward and it is difficult to participate in self-care outside of my home. Is virtual therapy an option, even though I've always done in person? And then does it cost the same?
Great question.
I love that they know themselves well enough. And that is a key piece to wintering, is that, yes, you tend to go inward. It's harder to take the steps to get out of your safe place, which is your home. I love that this person has already been doing self-care in the form of therapy, in-person therapy, which is bravo to you. And while I can't speak for every therapy practice, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, virtual therapy is an option in many places, particularly since COVID.
Absolutely.
I would ask your provider. Many places it is an option. Does it cost the same? A lot of places now, virtual therapy is the free option or cheaper option, depending on the insurance.
On the insurance side, yep.
But I know, for ours, it's one of those where it's oh yeah, we can do virtual, we can do in person.
Yep.
It is just up to the provider. So talk to your provider, but yes, you can do virtual. And it is an option, but just ask them. But it is not something where you have to, for the most part, worry about, hey, I'm going to have to find a new therapist. Talk to them about it.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
The landscape has definitely changed since the pandemic with access. So that is a great question. And it's for anybody who's going through things. That shouldn't be an obstacle for you having access to therapy. Question 2. I struggle with depression and always get nervous about it getting worse during times of transition or after big events in my life, which I feel like is so common.
Yeah.
That's a great, I love that this person reached out and was vulnerable. Is there anything I can do knowing that I get that way? So they're kind of anticipating. Okay, I'm struggling. I know it may get worse. They have a big event coming or a transition. Absolutely, there are things you can do, right?
Yes.
My goodness. One of them being, if you are working with a therapist, there are skills that you can work on together, like anticipatory things that you can do together to kind of hone in on those skills as you're preparing for that. We'll do that with our clients, knowing that something's happening, to kind of give them that, whether it's a toolbox or tool belt of skills, so that they're better equipped going into it. There's other things too, where if you're with a therapist, if you know that about yourself, where sometimes we'll do therapy twice a week, and up it during the time. And it's almost like establishing a game plan for increasing success during that time.
Yeah, it's even thinking about what's worked for you in the past. What have been the coping tools, as you mentioned, kind of like coping toolbox. What has worked for you that might resonate with you in this moment? Wow, we're at the end of our wintering show for today.
Yes.
And thank you for listening this morning, everyone. Join us next week as we continue talking through more mental health focused topics. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself. Remember that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one that the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
Some go, some will, some won't. I wanna